So I worked from 4 in the morning till 10 o'clock at night, just hustling my ass off, making a shit ton of money, living my best life, helping people get fit and feel good about themselves on the inside and the outside. So that's where I found my passion. But if I was to look at that from back in the day, you can't connect those dots looking forward. I could only connect them looking back. And so I never thought that I'd be able to have such an impact on people's lives by being a hairdresser, by being a makeup artist, by even just being a personal trainer. See how I just put the word just in front of it? We do that because we think sometimes what we do isn't as impactful as it is. But if you talk to any of my clients over the years, like I have left impact in their life by the conversations we've had, what I've been able to help teach them about taking care of themselves, their hair, their body, their skin, what they're wearing. And so I think throughout my life, I've discovered my passions and purpose through that.
All right, guys, today we got Jess Burgio in the building, and she helps people, female entrepreneurs, scale their brands, scale their businesses, and ultimately level up in all facets of their life. We got Jess. Jess, welcome to the show.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here. It's about time we got together.
I know it's been a minute, and you live down the road here in San Diego. And by the way, congrats on your wedding. You just got married.
I did. Thank you.
In Cabo, San Lucas. Amazing. Where did you get married at?
We got married at, thank you for letting me share, the Bahia Hotel, which is my favorite boutique hotel in Cabo.
Never been there.
It's amazing. You'll love it since it's your vibe. They also have a beach club down on the water called Soar, and they host amazing events. I actually ran into Dan Martell when he was hosting his event there. He does his mastermind there. Him and his family were there. And so I was like, oh, this is a who's who of who's who. But I've been going to that place for over 10 years. So it's cool to see how it's evolved. But also they just have the most incredible staff. They put on the best wedding. We were stress-free. I didn't have to worry about a thing. I just got to enjoy the week and be there with my friends and family.
I feel like Mexico is always a good place for a retreat. We did our community retreat back in 2024 there in Cabo San Lucas, and then last year in Tulum. But I gotta ask you, getting married, what is the biggest thing that shifts for you once you get married? I've never been married, but hopefully soon. What's the biggest shift mentally when you get married?
I think honestly, let's see, because I can answer this in two-part. I got married when I was 25.
Okay, so it's the second go.
The second go. We're gonna get it right this time. We got it right this time. First time around, I wouldn't say much. I think expectation levels at that age when you're in your 20s are far different than they are when you're later in life and you're more of a realist. I think then I thought once we got married, everything would change. He would be a different person, take more responsibility. Now, I know a little different. I think this now go around, the partner that I have now, we completely understand each other, our capabilities, where we're both at in business and life. And so honestly, nothing has changed other than I feel more safe and secure that this is my forever person. I've known that since like month 2 of meeting him, but we didn't lock it down until obviously just last month. And I think he had been married for over 20 years. So he came in with some expectations of what marriage was supposed to look like too. 2 people living in the same house, in the same city, which we don't. He actually lives in Arizona. I live in San Diego. He has a really high level job in corporate America. I'm an entrepreneur and have been my whole adult life.
So you guys are married now and you don't live together?
Right.
Wow, that is crazy. I've never heard of that before.
Yeah, isn't it great? I mean, I highly suggest it for anybody who likes their space. Anybody who knows human design, I would say as a projector, that's what I am. There's 5 different designs. Go look it up if you don't know what your design is. Projectors need a lot of alone time. And so it took my generator husband a hot minute to understand that I need alone time. Now,
is it you that needs the alone time or him that needs the alone time?
It's me.
It's you. And why do you think that is?
So it's just in our design. Projectors can go. They can be on like this, right? Like your performance comes out. You know when to be on. You can walk into a room. You can do your thing. And then you need to shut everything off. You over people, right? You do too much peopling and you just gotta quiet
I get that.
Yeah.
I get that when, let's say I used to record podcasts on Wednesdays and we would host our monthly real estate meetup on Wednesday nights. And so sometimes I would have 3 podcasts back to back to back and then go host a 3-hour networking event. And at the end of that, I would be spent and I'd be like, I don't want to talk to anyone for the rest of the night. And I would literally just want to be alone. So I get that. But I've never heard of this before. This is very unique and interesting. So if it was up to him, he would live with you. But you're like, hey, I need a little bit of space.
No, this is not a decision that we both made. So his job, he's stuck in Arizona. So it is based off of not choice. And I have a child who is 14 who lives in San Diego. His dad is also here. So we share time with him here. So if I could move to Arizona, I would have, because I think that would have just made everything a lot more simple. I have a lot of really great friends in Scottsdale. Scottsdale is an amazing place for entrepreneurship, especially female groups and communities. I've made some incredible friends there. Actually, whenever I go to pick up my phone to call somebody for coffee, generally it's like I'm thinking of someone in Arizona. That's how much time I've spent out there in the last 5 years. That's how long we've been together. But for him, there was this weird, almost breakup point for us back in, I want to say February, where we had gotten engaged. And I think he still really thought like somehow I'd magically be able to just move to Arizona. And I know we love to live in a pipe dream, but the reality was I can't move until my son graduates high school, which is another 4.5 years. And so we had a good conversation, and we actually did break up for a couple of days. And I said, hey, you could tell the story that I broke up with you and wham, cry a river, or I'm going to tell the story of we tried our hardest, we did our best, but it just didn't work out. Your expectation was this is what marriage should look like. And I'm living in reality, and I'm like, we can still be married, have a very healthy, awesome relationship, and live apart.
Yeah. What does he do?
So he's regional director for all of the retail branches for JP Morgan. So he runs all of Phoenix and Nevada.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah, he's a badass.
And so he has to be present there in Phoenix.
A couple of days a week.
A couple of days a week. So how often do you guys see each other? What's that schedule look like?
Pretty much weekly. So we should have invested into Southwest a long time ago. We didn't. Shout out to Southwest is like our Uber.
Yeah.
But we've worked the system so like I get to fly companion. We're A-list preferred. We've made it work, but we definitely could have bought a boutique hotel for how much we spent in the last 5 years going back and forth to Arizona. But it's what's made this relationship work. We try not to go longer than a week without seeing each other. And he's a lot more flexible with some of his days. He's gotten things shoved together during the week so he can be away for the weekends, and then he can work from home some of the time too. And then me as an entrepreneur, I can be flexible as well. But as you guys know, if you're not working in your business and on your business and you're distracted and you're off your regular routine, it's hard to get any momentum going. So now that we've gotten to this point, I did have to sacrifice a lot in the beginning of the relationship in my business in order for it to be successful. But I feel like now he sees what I'm doing and how I need to be in this creative flow, this creative routine, to be able to podcast, to be able to drop in and connect like this. This isn't scripted. This isn't something where we go check boxes every single day, like a task list of a corporate job. This is where we have to be creative. We have to create content. We have to see what's going on, what's trending, what's this. We test that, we test this. And he understands that I need to be able to go do that in my own way, in my own space. And so I think we've even had the conversation where he's like, okay, we're here now. It's your time to run. I'm just going to try to keep up. And it's shifted the energy, and I feel so much more empowered now. So to answer even your first question of like, how has marriage shifted for us? I think he feels safe too. I think he feels like I'm not going anywhere. And we've both come to this understanding that expectations kill a lot of dreams, and the reality of like, we could have not gotten married, but we pushed through and we came to the conclusion that this is how it's going to be for now.
So I got a question for you on this because, I think as an entrepreneur today that was a 11-year government employee, an air traffic controller, where I was, doing a lot of shift work. I was working 6 days a week, a lot of shifts that I didn't want to work personally. And I was tied down to this job. And then now I've put in all this work to reposition and recreate my life to where I can have some control of my time and not be tied down to a specific location. And so you being a female entrepreneur, and understanding the value of all that, is that weird for you to date someone that's working as an employee and has this schedule where they're tied down to this location and they can't just get up and move? Is that a challenge for you?
I think it's a challenge for both of us because he sees the flexibility and freedom that I get to have. And I think there's parts of him that obviously desire to have that as well. I mean, he's stuck on Zoom call after Zoom call, having to make a lot of hard decisions, managing a huge amount of people, not being in control of how those people show up. He can't fire people like we would be able to if they're not performing. There's so many pieces of red tape that they have to work through. But for me, being able to be flexible, I think is the only way that this relationship has been able to work, because I do mold easily to either situations or what people need. But watching that 9 to 5 mentality of I'm on, then I'm off. That's been hard for both of us because at 5 o'clock, you're not always off at 5. It's not a crack a beer, let's relax, kick our feet up, watch Netflix. Sometimes by 5 o'clock is when I've had my first breath of silence so I could start to think. And that's when my creative juices start to flow sometimes. And I want to get on social and create. I want to look and see what's trending. I want to find the music. I want to put a reel together. I want to spend an hour doing my thing. And for him, sometimes that was really hard in the beginning. Now he sees the value. If I just give her minute, let her do her thing, she's going to come back. And so that part of that flow for me is so important, and why, even though maybe going to get a quote unquote real job would benefit me in the long run to have a regular paycheck and know where everything's coming from, I just don't operate that way. I've been a hairdresser for over 25 years. I've been in the beauty industry, able to create my own schedule. Many times I work 10 hours, 12-hour days by my own choice, though. I never felt like I had to. I got to. You know what I mean? And so that different mindset is what I think he's starting to adopt, and he's been able to mold his schedule to fit rather than letting what everyone's asking of him dictate what he's meant to do, because he's so high up. He is actually one of the bosses, so he can move things around. He can listen to his own energy, which he's learning to stop being so much in here and drop into his generator energy of, I'm done. I can't do any more today. Nothing else I do is going to be productive, so I need to pause.
And so when will you guys be able to live together? I mean, were we thinking just a year, or are we thinking until your kid turns 18?
I'm guessing that nobody at his company listens to this podcast, I'm hoping. And if they do, they'll keep their mouth shut.
Tell us all the secrets.
Yes,
Jess.
I will.
Tell us all the secrets.
This is the funny thing that's happening right now for him. And I think he's finally gotten to the point where he's done letting other people's energy or lack of leadership dictate his career and where he's able to go with everything. So his current boss he's had now for the last 3 years is awful. Doesn't do what he's supposed to do. Terrible at leadership. And I don't know if you ever had this with your corporate job, but they get graded. So they get these scorecards where they're rated throughout the year. And at the end of the year, they go over the scorecard and they're supposed to have an hour-long conversation with their boss. They're meant to be about an hour long. His was 9 minutes long with his boss. This is how much this guy doesn't like him. I think he finds him to be a threat, if I had to give you my personal opinion. So what I think, which is ridiculous, because if you're thinking about as an entrepreneur, you have somebody who's highly productive, a good leader, who runs a shit, you'd be like, I sit back and let you do your thing.
Yeah.
That's because we're smarter.
Those are the kind of people I want on my team.
Absolutely. I'd hire 10 of you in a second. And then there's people who find those people to be a threat. You could take my job. And in corporate, that is how it works. If somebody outperforms you and is better than you, they more than likely might get your job.
Yeah, they likely will. Yes.
They likely will. But in our world, what they do is they leave and start their own company. That's usually what happens, right? If you get really good people, you know they're not going to stay forever because they're so smart. They're going to go do their own thing. And you want that for them. That's how it is in the beauty industry. You see it all the time. But for him, with this situation, he is actually going to file an official HR complaint. So we're kind of on that cusp of like, what could happen? It could destroy his career. I mean, but on this grading hour-long supposed call that was only 11 minutes long, the guy graded him the worst possible grade you can get in leadership. And my husband prides himself in leadership. That is his number one ethos in life, is being a good leader. It's what he gets up every day for. And so to watch this man, who I respect, admire, who look at with such strength, be just taken out by this, like it's rocked us. Even though he thinks he's like doing a good job, like keeping it to himself, it's not. He's not. And so I'm so glad that this has happened, because now it's pushing him to actually take the action that is there for people to use HR, to file a complaint, to actually do something about it. You don't got an HR in here. If someone's not happy, it's like, there's the door.
But you telling his story like reminds me of, when I was working air traffic, like, you can't choose who your managers are. And unfortunately, like not every manager is going to be great to work with. And some of them just suck, micromanage, and they're just don't bring out the best of everyone. And so that's the one part that I certainly don't miss. But also I think as a leader now, because I've seen so many like great managers and some shitty ones along the way, I never want to create a culture or a work environment to where people don't want to work here, or they don't feel comfortable bringing their ideas to the table. And so with that, I think it's forced me to become a better leader because of that, right? I always want a culture to where people like coming in here. It feels loose. It's a good vibe. People feel like, they don't have to tiptoe around and walk on eggshells. So, well, maybe for him, this is an opportunity for him to pick up something here in San Diego, and you guys can, start building a home together here.
That would be the dream. That's what I think. God always has a plan and everything. It's like you create a plan and God laughs at you, and then he rewrites the plan in a whole different way. I wish he didn't have to go through this, but I think a lot of times those pain points in our life are what create the change and get us to actually do something about it, because he didn't want to leave the firm. He loves the firm that he works for. But I think this is opening his eyes to maybe taking a lesser role in San Diego so that he could potentially start over or be able to live together. And I was like, listen, I love nice things. Don't get me wrong. I said, but when I met you, man, you had 4 cars, a boat, this, that, all the things. Do you really need this lifestyle in order to have what you truly want? And I think sometimes we got to look at what is the price you're paying to continue to have the things you think you want versus what you truly want, which is you just want to live in the same place as me. We could have a lot less for a little bit of time while we rebuild something bigger here. He's supposed to be an entrepreneur. He hasn't figured it out yet.
And how do you balance as a female entrepreneur? How do you balance, and pick your spots in times where, because let's face it, I think a lot of traits that come with building a business are very masculine. And obviously you're married now and you got a husband. And so how do you balance and pick and choose your spots as a female entrepreneur of where you're going to take the lead, have some more masculine energy versus, hey, I'm going to take a step back and be a little bit more feminine?
I'll be honest, it's been difficult for me. As you guys can hear, even in my tone, I do have a little bit more of a masculine energy when it comes to taking action and making decisions. I think it's because I'm the oldest child. I was raised without my dad. My mom tried to play mom and dad, so I saw a version of a parent who was both. My mom's the breadwinner. She still is, even now, though she's been remarried. And it's interesting when you get into a relationship with a high performer, even in corporate, that power struggle. And I think every relationship, even in friendship groups, there's a power struggle of like, who's the decision maker in the friendship group or the relationship? Who's the ultimate, like, maybe even breadwinner? Because it does establish different roles in the relationship. And I think once everybody understands their roles, then you can settle into that. And what it's done for me in this situation is allowed for him to lead in ways that I always felt like I had to. Because there wasn't a man present, there wasn't someone in the house to help me, parent my child. Now, he does it in a very loving way. He has 2 boys of his own that are 20 and 22. And so he knows, like, I have to do it on my own a lot of times, but he'll come in with that softness even of, like, going in my son's room and being like, hey, your mom's just trying. Like, can you maybe just pick up your clothes and go give her a hug and say thanks for dinner? Like, you just walked out and you didn't even pick up your plate or something like that. And just that little bit of extra support, 1, makes me admire him and love him even more. 2, my son and him are bonding, and there's a level of respect happening there. And so it allows me to, like, ease back and be more in my feminine. So it happens in so many different small ways that you don't even notice it. But I notice when I'm in more of my feminine, I'm less aggressive, less agitated, a little bit more patient. And so all of those things trickle into my business. So I'm a more patient, empathetic, loving coach to my clients, a mentor, leader in my salon space that I still run. So it's changed a lot for me. I'm almost getting emotional just answering that question to you.
So were you dating prior to your current husband? Did you find that a lot of other men that were W-2 employees would be intimidated dating you because you're an entrepreneur and you have a lot of masculine energy that needs to come out in order for you to thrive in this environment?
I felt like there was a lot of competitive energy. Like the conversations would be interestingly structured around business or what they were doing or what I was doing. And I think being my own salon owner, business owner for the longest time, I didn't date a lot. So I would meet people, there'd be casual dates. I definitely can read energy really, really well. And if someone's fronting something that's not truly authentic, I mean, I almost wish I couldn't sense it out, but I do. And I'm like, yeah, no, this is just gonna be for fun. So I had a lot of fun in the in-between times. But, once I met Scott, he was the one who he locked in and he was like, you're it, that's it. And he went after what he wanted and he wouldn't let me go. From flowers every week to trips out every week to we're doing this, we're doing that. Just taking full ownership of like, I'm going to get what I want. And I mean, I feel like, yes, that's a masculine trait. I feel like it's a very entrepreneurial trait as well. But I think for women, and maybe I'd get crucified for this, but I think the man has to make the decision first, and then we get to make the decision.
What do you mean when you say the man has to make the decision first?
So when you're dating or even in a long-term relationship, once the man decides this is the woman I want to be with, I want to marry, I want to commit to, I want to live with, then we get to decide, oh, okay, now is this the person I want to marry, be with, and like live with? And then it will work. I think if it's the other way around where the woman's trying to convince or push or coerce or do all the things to get the guy to do what they want, ultimately it doesn't usually work out that way.
But we're like one of the only species in the world that the man pursues the woman. If you look at all the other species, like animals, for example, most of them, the woman pursues the man. The male will attract all the females. What is it in birds? What do they call that theory? The
peacocking.
The peacock. Yeah.
Yeah.
And same thing with like whales and like all sorts of different animals. It's typically the woman that will pursue the male. And so why is that different in human beings, you think?
I don't know. I really don't know. I think it's the performativeness, the way that we've been brought up as a society that one's supposed to do these certain roles. It's all our conditioning. You know, I think there are plenty of women out there who are taking the initiative to ask men out. That's why we're on these dating sites. That's why, you know, sometimes if a man isn't responding the way a woman wants, she starts looking the other way at the other women instead. How many women we know that were married to men that are now married to women? Famous writers, we could name a few. Men that were men and now are women. So, you know, we could be here all day having
Yeah,
this
no,
chat. You know what I'm
yeah.
saying? You're asking me to explain biology in 30 seconds. I cannot.
Yeah, Bruce Jenner becoming Caitlyn Jenner. That's a prime example right there.
Prime example.
I just
mean,
watched that documentary this past weekend, by the way. It was really good.
if you think about his background, he was famous for what he did.
He won the gold medal in the Olympics. I think it was like the 1984 Olympics in Montreal, Canada, for like the triathlon. He won the gold medal, which is like the best athlete
Right.
in the world.
But he peaked in 1984 on every cereal box. He was famous as fuck. And then he marries Kris Jenner and then ends up on the show. And then the show takes over and supersedes anything he ever did in his life. Yeah, he's still who he was. But like, let's fast forward to the times now and what's popping off on social. He's just the dad who happens to be in the videos.
So do you think being around Kris and all the Kardashian girls forced him to kind of switch it up gender wise?
Listen, we are who we are. He could have been born like that. I don't know how, you know, people decide one day they're this and the next day they're that. I think a lot of people are born into the knowingness that they always were in the wrong body. I truly believe like everybody has a different story. I can't give a one sentence answer to that because I clearly have never experienced it myself. But I have plenty of friends who have come out and shared, I've always felt like this, or I wasn't quite sure. And then I had this experience and then I was for sure. But if I had to speculate and we were just talking some tea, I would think that he was like, yo, this is how you get the attention. Done. I can do that.
Yeah. The one thing I do know about Caitlyn Jenner is his or her daughter became a billionaire, a female billionaire at age 21. That's crazy.
Crazy.
That's crazy.
Now, that was on the backs of her sisters working their ass off. Let's just not forget about what her older sisters had to do in order for her to have that experience.
Yeah.
And that's...
But still. She's got a hell of a brand.
Yeah. So, like a Rihanna, same. I mean, a lot of these women are just doing the damn thing. And that's what's possible when you have kind of a roadmap of how to get somewhere and you've got a team and you've got people and you're willing to invest. Yes, she has money to invest, but also she was willing to spend the money, take the risk, put herself out there. And that's what a lot of people won't do, even at the smaller scale level. She had way more to lose. There's people that are at my stage of life, people at yours that are still scared to take the action, start the podcast, start the business, invite themselves into a room.
Do you think it's harder to grow a business as a female versus a man?
Yes.
Why?
I just think there's less doors being opened for us. It's been that way since the beginning of time. I mean, if you listen to anything that Michelle Obama talks about, she mentions that on the umpteenth degree, but even for her culture, but for women in general, I mean, look at history. We weren't allowed to vote till a certain age. We weren't allowed to do a lot of things. Then somebody wants to take away our ability to do what we want with our bodies. I mean, when are you guys being told what to do? Never. Never. So I think that answer to that question has a ripple effect that is a lot of stuff that's not talked about when it comes to women starting their own business. We're the least funded by venture capitalists, we're the least invested in, we struggle the hardest to raise money for things. For some reason, there's a different level of trust when a man says, I'll handle it, versus a woman says, I'll handle it. Depending on the background, obviously, that's not universal.
I'll be honest with you, Jess, here with my team, with Summers Capital, most of my team is female.
I saw that.
And that's intentional because I've tried to hire guys. And, obviously this is not a one-all be-all, but generally speaking, women are the better person for the job.
Talk to me about that.
They're a lot more loyal. They work harder. They're way more committed. I can trust them. They don't get as sensitive to criticism or constructive feedback. And so I've just found a lot more success hiring females. And that's why my team is primarily women.
I think that also comes from your leadership. I think you have a softness about you that is approachable. Even though we got this tough guy leather jacket, good looking, I got all the shit going on, look at my space. You have this essence of approachability. And I think because of that, these women probably are not threatened by you. They feel embraced. They feel like they can come to you with anything, personal or professional. They are probably more open to sharing ideas with you than a guy who feels like they have to prove something to you, right? When someone's trying to compete with you, it's hard for them to work with you or for you. Same in a relationship, same in a friendship. If someone wants to be you or have what you have, I think it changes the game and the dynamic. You have to be friends with or be with people or work with people who they could want a version of what you have, but they can't want to be you. So I think some of these women that you found, which you've had to go through, it sounds like a few different iterations of people working here to find the right fits. It wasn't out the gate that you found these perfect ladies. They somehow found you through your trial and error with the guys. Why do you think that is with the men that you had in here? What was the differentiator? Yes, you gave me the examples of the women, but why didn't the guys work out?
I think generally speaking, guys tend to have a little bit bigger ego. And you know, like Pace Morby talks about it too. Like his team is primarily women. I feel like guys, like when they come into the workplace, they're taking notes every day, and they're like, "Hey, I'm gonna fucking take this shit, and I'm gonna go build my own thing at some point." And I do also believe that generally speaking, men in today's environment are a little bit more sensitive to constructive criticism in the workplace. I really believe that. And I don't know if it's an ego thing. I don't know if it's an alpha type of thing or not. But that's kind of what I've found. But I also think women do have an advantage in sales. And they do have an advantage of getting invitations to and certain opportunities that I think men don't. And so I think back to our point, done correctly and positioned the right way, I think a woman entrepreneur does have a lot of advantages. It's definitely a form of counter positioning. It's different, right? Look at Shelby Sapp. She's been able to really build a big thing relatively quickly because she's contrarian to the marketplace. Most high ticket salespeople are men, and she's a woman and became good at it, and now she's built this big thing relatively quickly. So I think done correctly, I think you can use it to your advantage.
Definitely, and Cody Sanchez as well. But if you look at their positions in the marketplace, they're not afraid to speak their mind, speak their truth, which is more of what we'd call a masculine trait, right? They step up, they speak up, they show their cars, they do the thing. I mean, Cody's been talking about buying small businesses for years. Then all of a sudden she comes out with a reel the other day talking about women who wear makeup make 30% more money. And I was like, oh, Cody, are we talking about beauty? I've never, ever heard you talk about that. Way to hop on a trend. But I like that she's talking about that now.
Do you think that's true, that women that get all done up make more money?
Yes, 100%. Hello, I've been in the beauty industry for 26 years. I firmly believe that your first impression is everything. Doesn't mean you have to be the most beautiful person in the world, but definitely putting on a cute outfit, doing your hair and makeup is going to make you feel some type of way so that you walk into the room feeling more confident and more secure and more ready for whatever that room has to offer. I don't even leave my house without a little bit of makeup on, even to go to the gym, because you know who I'm looking at the gym? Myself in the mirror.
Mm. Do you think a woman that's more fit physically makes a lot more money than a female that's not fit?
I know plenty of what they would consider, I wouldn't call them self-proclaimed overweight women. I know plenty of that are very successful, very successful.
But apples to apples.
Apples to apples, no. I think someone who takes care of their body takes care of their business and everything else in their life the same way. And I think prioritizing your self-care in the form of working out, eating healthy, means you're optimizing everything else at a higher level. It just is what it is. I find that when I'm focused, yesterday was actually 2 weeks I haven't had a drink. And that's intentional because I was so curious if the little bit of brain fog I was starting to feel, the struggling with decisions was part of it. I couldn't put my finger on it. And I was a glass of wine or two a night with dinner. Like I said, I'm married to a corporate guy. At 5 o'clock, crack a beer. It's a literal mindset. And so I started to adopt that habit. Whereas before COVID even happened, I never even had wine in my house. I would just socially drink. So it's been a big shift for me to think about cutting it out because I like having a social drink. I like going out with a nice steak and a glass of wine, but having that brain fog cleared, already lost 2 or 3 pounds. That wasn't part of the reason why I did it, but it just goes to show that the drinking leads to me wanting to snack and then craving sugar. So it's like a ripple effect. And my mental health and the fact that I don't have to go to therapy every week because I go and lift weights or I move my body or I go for my walks, I think has given me a severe advantage to other people who don't do that for themselves.
Yeah. I think it's very well known that if you have good looking females around you or your team or your business, you're going to get more views, you're going to get more customers. I mean, there's a reason why the Laker girls are female, they're not Laker men. There's a reason why the cowboy girls are cowboy girls and not men. And I know, for us here, everything we're doing with Summers Capital and when we host networking events and all that sort of stuff, I know for a fact that we attract more men that want to be around us and gravitate towards us because we have good looking women that work on the team versus a bunch of like overweight men. And so I think it's a known thing. And so, even as a guy, being fit, I think when you walk into a room, first impression, and you shake someone's hand, if you're put together, you're in shape, it tells a lot about who you are. It also tells a lot about, hey, this person can be trusted because they must have some sort of form of discipline in order to be in shape, take care of the body, and stay consistent and not let themselves go. If you're letting go of your body, then how are you operating your business? And so I think it's big, and I think first impression is a lot. But back to your point, outside of, because I think we just proved there's a lot of benefits of being an attractive woman in the marketplace. I think it's definitely contrarian in the marketplace, but you think it is challenging. What are some other challenges that you kind of see baked in?
Well, I mean, honestly, like I used to call myself a holistic life and business coach because I truly believe that every part of your life affects your business. And so many people want to separate the two, right? But it's not true. And so 9 times out of 10, I'll get a client who comes to me, wants to work with me, hires me, and they want to figure out a strategy, whether it's podcasting, visibility, creating more social content that's actually, more on their monetization buckets versus like, oh, I just have these brand pillars. It's personal branding done right can explode your business, no matter what your business is. And so with that, it comes consistency of, I get asked, what are my supplementations that I take every day? What is my gym workout like? What am I doing behind the scenes? Those things that optimize you so that you show up with that energy. If we were just like want on this podcast, nobody would listen to it. You kicked it off with high energy. You are always high energy when you come on social media. Like you just bring that energy. And that's the differentiator piece. That's the uniqueness that you bring, that if people can unlock their own uniqueness, they can talk and teach about the same exact thing as the next guy, but it's in their own unique way. No one's following anybody that doesn't have a little bit of energy to them. And if you can't dig that up, and then you might as well just quit now, because I feel like if you're not going to play the game at the next level.
Yeah. And I'll say this as well. And I feel like right now I'm in a pretty mellow state, but as a creator or podcaster, or if you're on social media shooting a video, I feel like you have to turn it up 3 or 4 notches, and you feel like it's coming off very, very loud, but on the other side, if someone watching, it's not very loud. And so like you turning it up 3 or 4 notches just actually sounds normal, and you not turning it up at all sounds very, very low on the other side.
And that's like, and for all my girlies out there, that's like whenever you've gotten your makeup done professionally, you look in the mirror and you're like, holy shit, I have so much makeup on. But when you get your photos taken, you look amazing. And that's how like I was for my wedding. That analogy, I tell a lot of hair analogies and makeup analogies and fitness analogies because people can relate to that kind of stuff. And that's the same with podcasting. If people wonder why their content doesn't do well on social, if they wonder why they're not performing well, it's not always that you have to get full glammed up, but like what energy are you bringing behind the no makeup look that you're talking about today? What is the energy you're bringing about the thing that you're talking about? Why else should somebody else get excited about getting into your world, following you, ingesting your content, talking about you to other people? You gotta turn it on.
Yeah, I'll give you another one. So, fixing your teeth. If your teeth are not good, fix your teeth. If you don't have good vision, go get LASIK. If there's something that makes you feel insecure about your appearance physically, like, a lot of women get, and men probably get nose jobs, like go get a nose job or Botox. Like, look, I'm a big believer in letting people pick and choose what kind of cosmetic stuff they want to get done. But if it's going to give you more confidence and you're going to, be a better version of yourself when you talk to people, when you get on camera, then it's going to make you more money, then I say go do it.
I agree. I think we're going to get picked on a little bit for that comment, but I do believe like we're in the era of there's now this polarizing, differentiating groups where people are like, because of course I went and read all the comments on Cody Sanchez's post, and the one lady was like, what if I don't want to do my makeup? And the lady was like, then don't. Then you won't have
that's okay. And that's okay too.
That's okay too. You won't have the results I'm talking about. But for those of you who do, and you want to take 5 minutes to do it, like I have my brows microbladed on, I get my lashes done, my lipstick's tattooed on. half my face is already painted before
Yeah,
I even
and
wake up.
I openly, as a 40-year-old male, I openly talk about Botox, that I get Botox every 3 months.
Same.
And, some guys in the comments are like, "Oh my gosh, why would you, like, talk about that?" Or like, "Oh, that's gay, dude." But I'm like, I'm very comfortable with my role as a male and who I am. And so, like, yeah, if I wanna talk about Botox, like, I don't have anything to hide. Is anything wrong with taking Botox? It's preventative. Like, why would I not wanna look younger?
That was one of the first
You
things
know?
I said to my husband when
Why
I
would I not
met
wanna
him.
look
Why would
younger?
you not want to look younger? I
Yeah.
looked at him and we had been introduced. We were in a group of friends and we were sitting. It was a random. I flew out to Arizona for a girls' night. It was supposed to be, but we ended up with a bunch of guys. Yeah. Anyways, long story long, we're chatting. I look over at him. He tells me his age. He was 49 at the time, and I said, "You definitely get Botox, then, don't you?" And he was like, "Yes." And I was like, "I love that. So do I." And then we just instantly, like, the realness, the rawness. It was just, and he still does, and he looks fucking great. He's 55 now.
Mm, mm.
I mean,
I stay frozen. And here's the other thing. I think a lot of guys that make those kind of comments, they don't really know what Botox is. They're just not educated on what it is. Myself included. Before I got into it, I think it was until I had a Botox specialist come on the podcast. I thought it was literally for old people that are in their 60s and 70s, and the people that have these big shiny faces and fillers. I thought that's what Botox was. I didn't know that it was simply just a preventative measure from preventing lines and wrinkles. And the time that you should start getting Botox is actually before you have all these lines etched into your face. By then, it's a little bit too late. And so, I think at whatever age you start is essentially the same age that your face is going to stay for the next 10, 20, 30 years, because you're not going to have those lines forming at all when you form these facial expressions, and it just freezes your facial muscles and the ability to make expressions that cause lines. And it's as simple as that.
I started in my late 20s because I had a client who was an anesthesiologist, and she was the one who told me it was more preventative than anything else. I used to have a pretty deep line across my forehead because I'd always be like looking surprised. My mom would always try to stop making that face, and I didn't realize I was making it. And she's like, "Yeah, just start getting a little bit now. It'll ease up that line." And now I don't have it. And I get it every couple of months because I do feel like it makes me look a little more refreshed. There are people in their 40s getting facelifts now, and I don't quite want to do anything that drastic yet. But I think because I get that done and because my husband gets it done, he had Bell's palsy when he was a kid. So one eye droops a little bit more than the other. And now that he's getting older, it's a little more obvious. Couple drinks in, it's real obvious. So he finally went and got a doctor to look at it. And she was like, "Well, I don't think you'll quite qualify for insurance to cover it, but I think you should get it done." And so literally that was just this morning we had that conversation. So we talked about it. I'm like, "Are you going to do it?" And he's like, "I think so." He's just scared. And they want to do a little laser under the eye for the wrinkles under the eye, but he wants to get the upper bluff done. And I think because he's been with a woman who's in the beauty industry, who talks about it, who's shown him pictures, I want to get it done eventually. My mom's had it done. He's less scared because he knows the education piece behind it. And that's usually the thing that holds everybody back, is they're uneducated when it comes to certain things. So they're afraid to make decisions, or they have these preconceived assumptions of what something is or isn't. And we can talk about business when it comes to a lot of that kind of stuff too.
Now, I want to be very clear here. I'm not saying everyone needs to go get Botox and
No.
get their nose job and fix their teeth. I'm saying this: if you're out there and you have a jacked up teeth and you don't want to get it fixed and you're cool with it, then don't do it. And I respect that. Same thing with all the other stuff. If you have lines and you're like, I don't want to get Botox, and you're comfortable with the lines, I'm like, cool, don't get Botox. I respect that. All I'm saying is this: if you're in a place right now and you feel stuck, you don't feel confident, you're not able to date the people that you want to date, you don't feel like you have the opportunities in life or business that you feel like you want to have to be happy and to progress and to grow, then like it goes a long way to just spend 6 months working on yourself, getting in the best shape of your life, going and getting a new wardrobe, getting a freaking makeover, getting your teeth fixed. Like, just those simple things. 3 to 6 months, you can completely change your appearance, your identity. And if that's going to give you more confidence and give you more opportunities and allow you to date higher quality people and attract better partnerships and opportunities in business and life, then go do it. But don't sit there and complain about it if you're not wanting to do that kind of stuff.
No,
That's how I see it.
And you can see there's so many actors and actresses. Like, I watched a few movies recently where there's these, the actress has been around for years, and all of a sudden you see the lines and the wrinkles and you see the teeth. And I'm like, I never noticed she had bad teeth. I never noticed she had bad skin. Well, she probably didn't in her 20s, and now she does in her 40s or 50s. And maybe that's why she's getting the roles. So again, I love that you just, circled back and said, do what makes you feel comfortable. but it's like the judging of what other people are doing so that they feel good about themselves is what I just really don't have any patience for, nor do I pay attention to it because I do whatever I want anyway. So, I think dressing the way you want to dress, sometimes I dress like a 10-year-old. I'm wearing my kids' old shoes. Like I literally feel like the essence
You
of
got the MJs on
the
today,
essence
the
of who you are
23s.
come through in what you wear
hmm
and how you wear it and what you feel comfortable wearing. I recently lost about 20 pounds and that changed everything for me. I feel a lot more confident in like myself in my own body.
More energy.
I was a competitive bodybuilder for a few years, so I know what it's like to push myself to that level to look your absolute best, and then to be pregnant and be almost 200 pounds. Like that's a mind fuck as a woman to go from the best shape of your life, taking first place on stage, to then being pregnant and having no control of what your body looks like in those months, to having to fight for it back in my 30s, and now in my mid 40s. Getting on different peptides and taking different things, which are very similar to exploring Botox, getting a nose job. Like we all need to do what makes us feel our best. And that's where I think allowing other people's judgment, society, your family, that will hold you back so much. So getting around people who are more open and more open-minded to changing things, if it's going to make your life better, easier, more successful.
hmm
So many people.
By the way, I think one that's a great ROI. And I got this done not too long ago, but I got LASIK. Oh my gosh, game changer. And you think about all the years I had contacts, and going to the optometrist every single year to get a new eye exam, and then going and picking up contacts every single 3 to 6 months, and the solution, and having to remember to take them in and out, and all the that time and energy wasted. With the cost of LASIK being so affordable these days, I think I got it done maybe 4 years ago, but I want to say I got both eyes done at one of the best places here in San Diego. Is the San Diego LASIK Institute, I want to say, here in Mission Valley. But great reviews, and both eyes less than $4,000 out the door. I mean, it pays for itself in 3 to 4 years, but then all that time that you save. I wake up now, I just see great. Wake up to use the restroom. It's not blurry. Everything is just perfect. I don't need to worry about taking contacts in and out, eyeglasses and all that crap. It gives you more confidence too, to be able to see. And so for me, I think that's one of the easiest ROIs out there. If you're listening to the show right now, I know a lot of people don't have good eyesight, wear contacts or glasses. It's like, dude, just go get it done.
We're basically breaking down all the life hacks of how we feel better, look better, show up differently. And I think that's the difference when you're listening to someone's podcast and you're like, I wish I could have a podcast like that. I wish I could have a business and a brand like that. I wish I could build my personal brand. Maybe you would start to take the steps to do it if you felt more confident and comfortable. And it could be some of the littlest things like changing your outfits. Some of the biggest shifts I've seen in my clients are when they come and let me do a full VIP brand day with them, because generally they're stuck in they're wearing the same thing, wearing their hair the same. And they're like, I just want a Jess makeover. And because I can do all facets of that, branding, the styling, we shoot them new covers for their podcasts. We do a lot of talking head, recording content in the studio too, and just seeing them on camera when they're fully put together, when they've got a coach who's holding space, and basically we run it like a podcast. So I play 20 questions with them. We pull 50 pieces of content out of that, and they walk away with 6 months worth of content of a version of them that they wish they could walk around like every day, but they don't have to anymore because they've got the content now. So that's something that I really value working with a lot of my clients with, but that usually comes after, a few weeks or a few months of doing the deep inner work of like, where do you want your brand to go? What's the vision for what you're wanting to create? What's the legacy? What's your vision, mission, all of that? And often it's layered underneath what they think they need to do versus what they truly want to do, and finding the passion and the love behind like building a business that truly lights them up. Because so many people are building businesses and are new entrepreneurs doing things that they see other people doing that might not be in alignment for them.
I think one of the biggest turning points for me was when I actually like discovered my true direction, and I felt a sense of purpose and identity. I'm like, I'm built to be a real estate investor and an entrepreneur, and it's like, hey, this is my direction. And once I really discovered that, and I didn't discover it till my mid 30s.
Pause there.
That's when everything shifted for me.
Explain that shift, because that's the piece where people are like, okay, cool, great story, Rich, but like, when? How did it shift? And maybe you've shared it a bunch of times on the podcast before, but if someone's brand new listening today, like, explain that shift and that mindset or that aha moment, or was there like a few aha moments that happened? Like, what was that breakdown like for you?
Honestly, I was raised like most people. I was taught from a young age to go to school, get good grades, go to college, get a job, play it safe, diversify, invest in your 401k. I was not taught or exposed business or real estate investing. They don't teach that in school. And so I did all those things, and I was a 11-year air traffic controller. And it wasn't until early 2019, I was in the break room and I overheard one of my coworkers, his name was Mike. And Mike was talking about how he just bought a fourplex in Cleveland. And I thought it was the coolest thing ever. I was like, how did you do that? And he said, go listen to this podcast. It was the Bigger Pockets podcast on real estate investing. He said, go read this book. And it was a book on real estate investing by Brandon Turner. And I started listening to this podcast and I was like, damn, this is so dope. I had never listened to a podcast ever at that time. And I was like, damn, there's all these real estate investors talking about their journey. And a lot of them were just everyday people that were working a day job, working a W-2 job, and then they just did a real estate deal as a side hustle. And then they did a second one, and then they did a third, and then they ended up quitting their job and then going all in and building these pretty cool, like, portfolios. And I was like, damn, like anyone can do this. And that was my first taste of like, what it was like, investing in real estate, being an entrepreneur. And I was just kind of listening to these guys' stories. And I think that's the beauty of podcasts is like you can listen to other people and their stories and you almost feel like you're in the room with them and you feel like you're friends with them. And so I just started binge listening to episodes, Jess. And I just became obsessed. And I knew back then I was like, damn, like I'm going to fucking do this. I'm not built to fucking, trade my time for money and be an air traffic controller. Like I love that job and I miss a lot of aspects of it. And I love the fucking people there. But I was like, I'm built and I'm meant for this. And that was the moment where everything shifted and I was like, I'm going to fucking do this. And obviously it evolves over time with trial and error, you're pivoting. But I knew at that moment in 2019, like this was the new direction. But curious for you, for someone listening to this that is looking to, figure out their identity. I talk to so many people. They're like, fuck, like I don't know my true direction. I don't know what my identity is. And that can be a very unfulfilling place to be, like a very empty and lonely place to be mentally. So how does someone figure out their true identity or their direction?
This is something that like I feel like Oprah gets asked a lot, right? Like, what's my purpose?
Another female billionaire, by the way.
Yes. I love Oprah. That's who I one day wish to meet and sit down and have a conversation with. When people ask that question, like, who do you want to talk to, alive or dead? I'm like, Oprah. Oprah always. I think honestly, it comes down to asking some really depthful questions for people. I think so many women, especially I can speak to, that's the majority of my clientele, have been in this performative, this is what, just like you, this is what I'm supposed to do. This is what I was told to do. This was the limitations around what was acceptable for my family as far as what a career looked like. And we can name off almost every ethnicity of what job they were supposed to do, right? All the Filipinos supposed to be a nurse. There's just so many different job roles you're supposed to do that your family would be impressed with or accepted or proud to talk about you. But I'll never forget graduating high school and my mom being like, so, where are you going to go to college? And I'm like, I graduated with like a 2.5. Like, no, what college?
I had a
signed up
2.4 in high school.
I signed up for beauty school. You didn't know? Like, and I did it through federal aid, so you don't have to pay for anything and you can't tell me no. And I knew that I wanted to do something. And this is where sometimes you have to start backwards. It wasn't the hair and doing the hair or being a beauty entrepreneur or even an entrepreneur. I didn't even really know what that meant at the time, even though my mom was one. It was, I knew that career would give me time freedom, choice over how much I charged, how much I worked, where I worked, what type of hair I did, what type of clientele I saw. So I think I worked it backwards unintentionally, knowing it at the time. I created the reality I wanted by happening to be good at a skill set. I think the work ethic was there. I think the vision was there. I think what I desired in my life was there. But the way I got to go about it was different. I was taught a skill. I happened to pick up the skill really well. And I was really good at doing hair. I was very consistent, just like I was in other areas of my life. I was a competitive athlete growing up. So of course, competitive in the salon. I want to be the top earner. I want to sell the most product. So I just looked around and I remember thinking, oh, I've made it. Once I hit 6 figures after my first 6 months in business, I was like, well, everyone said this wasn't a good job. Everyone said I wouldn't make any money. But fortunately, my mom was like, if you're going to go to beauty school, you need to go work at the best salon in San Diego. And at the time, 25 years ago, that was Robert Croming's. So I got a job there and I saw what it looked like for people to take a career seriously that no one else saw as a real career. Because I grew up in a small town here in San Diego. And so those smaller salons didn't have that perception of, wow, these people think they're rock stars. So that's when I learned there's a 1% in every industry. There's a 1% in every industry. And if you take your career seriously, no matter what you do, people will respect you. If you show up looking the part, I didn't have the money to get my nails done and like do all the things making minimum wage back then. I lived at home, but I did everything I could to dress nicely, to show up well, to be on time, to be consistent. So you got promoted, then you were a little low level assistant, then the high level assistant, then you got pushed to finally be able to take clients. And then someone asks you to go and leave and start a salon with them. So the progression of finding myself in that career gave me purpose. And that's when I learned that it's not about finding your purpose, it's about being purposeful in whatever you do and having passion about whatever you do. That will lead you to the next thing and open the doors for the next thing. So 10 years into my career, I got really into fitness, and someone at the gym came up to me and grabbed me by my shoulders, and the guy said, "Do you compete?" And I was like, "In what?" He's like, "Figure." I'm like, "Figure skating?" He was like, "No, figure like bodybuilding." And I'm like, "No." He's like, "Well, you got the shoulders for that. You need to compete." And I was like, "I did gymnastics and dance my whole life." So, he pushed me in that direction. One person saw something in me, believed in me, course corrected me, directed me down that path, and introduced me to somebody, right? So this was also second lesson of like, it's not always where you are, it's the opportunity, and then also the introduction. So networking. I started training with this girl at my salon who was getting in shape, and this guy parlayed me to this other girl who was an Olympian champion. He's like, "You need to go train with her." Gave me her number. I walked into Worlds, which back in the it's now called The Gym, biggest bodybuilding gym here in San Diego, and I was like, "Oh my God." And I instantly felt like, I'm like, these are my people. I had no desire to be a professional bodybuilder. I had no idea what the sport even really was. I thought bodybuilders were the big, huge women on stage, the men. I meet this woman, and I'm like, this is what I meant to do. This is how I'm meant to help people. But what I got to do was parlay my whole clientele that I had behind the chair that I'd built after 10 years. They watched me get fit. And of course, what did they say? "I want to work out with you. I want to train with you." So I took all those clients, started training them in the gym, write nutrition plans, doing all that. So I did both for about 5 or 6 years. So I worked from 4 in the morning till 10 o'clock at night, just hustling my ass off, making a shit ton of money, living my best life, helping people get fit and feel good about themselves on the inside and the outside. So that's where I found my passion. But if I was to look at that from back in the day, you can't connect those dots looking forward. I could only connect them looking back. And so I never thought that I'd be able to have such an impact on people's lives by being a hairdresser, by being a makeup artist, by even just being a personal trainer. See how I just put the word "just" in front of it? We do that because we think sometimes what we do isn't as impactful as it is. But if you talk to any of my clients over the years, like, I have left impact in their life by the conversations we've had, what I've been able to help teach them about taking care of themselves, their hair, their body, their skin, what they're wearing. And so I think throughout my life, I've discovered my passions and purpose through that. And so I think for people listening, what they can take away is sometimes you got to get into something or try something to see if it's a right fit for you. Like, coaching isn't for everybody, but everybody comes out the gate thinking they want to be a coach.
I think it's a saturated market right now.
It is, for sure, because so many people think it's easy. They think it's an easy game. They can just sit at home, take a few calls. The calls are going to come flooding in.
When I first started the hotel investing community, Masterminds was like hadn't really blown up quite yet. But I feel like today everyone's got some sort of community or coaching program, and I feel like it's a saturated market now. But like anything, real estate is the same way. Business is the same way. It's going to weed out the people that are not the real deal. You know what I mean? Like, look at what this high interest rate environment has done to loan officers, real estate agents. It's weeded out a lot of the people that were not the real deal. But on the flip side, I know people personally. I mean, there's folks in our 7-figure creator community, Michael and Tracy Kane, the SD mortgage couple. They're setting records right now in the lending industry. My buddy Jonathan Yo, he's setting records right now in the lending industry. Real estate agents out there are setting records because a lot of the people that were, I think, what do they call it, 80-20 rule, where it's like the top 20% of anyone in any industry get 80% of the business, and the bottom 80% fight for the remaining 20%. And so I think as, stuff gets challenging, the top 20%, the top 10% are always going to prevail, and they're going to take all the customers there is.
Because why? They've been consistent. They stuck it out. They didn't give up when it got hard. They didn't think it was going to happen overnight. So many people
they don't have a backup plan.
They don't have backup. I love that. And so many people get into things like real estate or hair or even entrepreneurship thinking they're going to pop off in the beginning and that's going to be easy and clients are just going to come out of nowhere. You got to put the work in. You got to build the rapport. And I think the old school guerrilla marketing of getting into your local networks and talking to people, going to events, like joining your 7-figure creator community. I'm not particularly in real estate, but I joined your community because I want to be in rooms where there are conversations about business and life that I'm not having elsewhere. And so I think putting yourself in situations where maybe you're quote unquote the not smartest person in the room is key
We
to.
just had a individual join recently. His name's Mark Madsen, and he's a big dog. He manages $14.5 billion of retirement funds out of Scottsdale, and he's gonna be coming on the podcast here soon. He's like, "Hey, I'm gonna fly in on a private jet." But there's dudes out there, from what I'm saying, that like literally have so much wealth and money, and no one knows who they are because they just haven't took the time to build their personal brands yet. But anyways, you were saying about being in the right rooms.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Well, no, and I'm just saying, like, I think sometimes we think we shouldn't be in certain rooms based on the fact that maybe we don't have that background or we don't know everything that's going on in that room. But I think for me, I've learned the biggest lessons. I've met the coolest people. Like Cam's coming to town next month, and
Yeah,
we're doing a podcast together.
love
We
Cam.
got on the phone the other day, and I was learning all about how he's built what he's built. I mean, that's someone I would have never had a conversation with prior to putting myself in different rooms and exploring what friendships and business friendships look like at this stage, because it's all about how you can help each other, but it's also about like, do I know someone that can help him? Does he know someone who can help me? And so creating those relationships and networking is going to build your net worth like nobody's business. I mean, I'm sure the first person that introduced you to those podcasts, like you still mention his name to this day. He didn't know how much of an impact he was going to have on you. He was just doing his own thing, investing, but he shared that with you. And then you got curious and then you took action. And then now look where you are.
Now I'm going to go on the Bigger Pockets podcast.
Yeah, you go.
So, but yeah, a lot of it just really starts with being curious, being exposed to a new room or just listening to podcasts. I mean, in today's age, I always say this is the best time ever to be alive, regardless of all the bad news out there in the marketplace, all the hoopla out there. I don't watch a whole lot of news, but I will say that, the ability to listen to a podcast for free, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, you have YouTube. Just between those 3 platforms right there, you can really learn about anything that you want to learn and get a pretty damn good education for free today. And the ability to join a community or mastermind group today has never been easier. I mean, think about 30 years ago, 40 years ago, if you wanted to become an expert in whatever field, like it was harder to do that. There's the access to information was not there. Today it's there. And, then you couple that with social media and technology. I mean, 4.8 billion people use social media. It's free to post. It's free to market yourself. And then you couple that with AI. I mean, you implement a little chat GPT into your plan. You can basically create anything that you want to create today in a matter of 24 hours. I mean, it's quick and dirty.
It's wild.
Yeah.
It's wild.
And you could be pretty damn good if you commit to something for 30 days.
And I think the thing is people don't rationalize the money spent on production. Like we're doing an in-person podcast right now. They think about the money as like such a huge investment, yet someone will go spend 5-6 years getting a degree that they never end up using. But they see the value in it because they were told that piece of paper is going to help them in their career. And so I wish, and my takeaway for I hope people listening today is like investing in yourself is always going to pay off. No matter what, you're going to learn a lesson one way or the other. You're either going to be in the right room or you're going to realize you're not. You're one connection away from probably the answer you need. You're around the person who could help you be connected to the next right person. Masterminds have changed everything for me. It's what's built belief that like just because I was a hairdresser doesn't mean I didn't know entrepreneurship. I was like, wait a second. I've been an entrepreneur my whole life. My mom's a broker. She's a mobile home dealer. She's sold mobile homes for the last 36 years. Like I was raised in that environment of door knocking and like real estate. And my mom's a multimillionaire because of the real estate she's invested in. And I think there was this chip on my shoulder of proving that I could make myself successful in the beauty industry. It kept me away from real estate. And now I'm circling back around getting my license in both mobile home sales and real estate because I want to eventually be a part of her business, which is a legacy business at this point. She's just printing cash. She just doesn't need to work anymore. She just does because she can. She's got 25 agents. She's the top 5 producer in all of California, the only female-run office with 1 office.
And that's all they sell is the mobile home
in-park
resales. Asset class?
Mm-hmm. In-park resales for mobile homes.
Got it. The actual home or like the entire real estate?
No, just the home in the park. So it's
Got
just like real estate, but just for mobile homes. But she's also
What's the company that Warren Buffett invests into that they manufacture mobile homes?
I don't know.
I'm gonna have to look it up. We're
Let's
gonna look
look
it up
that
right
up.
now. But
But
that's so cool that she does that.
she does. And she did that at a very young age. She learned to sell mobile homes. She learned sales. She started her own company when I was really young, probably 12 years old. And she's built that business from the ground up and learned everything there is to learn about it. Got a real estate license so that when people come and want to sell their home, they can then buy a mobile home from her. And so she's also got her license for the tiny homes so she could source those, and her manufacturer license so she can get new homes to put them in the parks when those old yucky homes need to be removed. She goes and pays cash for them, gets rid of them, scrapes a lot, puts a new home in. And I mean, mobile homes are selling upwards of like $200,000, $300,000. And so the commissions on those are much larger than they've ever been. It's truly the only affordable housing that is still around right now. And so I had a recent,
I mean, you can't rent a studio apartment in downtown San Diego today for, much less than $1,600-$1,700.
oh, we're looking at more like 2,500 to $3,000. Like, trust. Like,
If you're in a nice building, yeah.
Yeah.
But I think if you're like looking for a studio and you didn't care if it was a nice building, maybe $1,600, but that's still a lot of freaking money.
Yeah.
That's still a lot of money.
And you could literally own a 3-bedroom home and pay somewhere around $2,000 a month and have your own home. You don't own the land, but you own the home, which is still an asset. So it's like at one point, I think.
And pay how much you said for a mobile home?
They vary. Anywhere from an older home could run in the low, 90s, all the way up to the brand new homes are closer to 4.
Yeah. So I looked it up. Warren Buffett owns Berkshire Hathaway. Berkshire bought Clayton Homes back in 2003. Clayton Homes is a mobile home manufacturer.
Oh, okay.
So, obviously it's one of those asset classes that there will never be a replacement for the basic need of shelter. That's never going to go anywhere. And I think as the cost of living becomes more and more expensive, there's still going to be a demand for that low income stuff. And they're not building mobile home parks. That's the other thing. When you look at, development and these local cities and municipalities around the country, most cities don't want to build mobile home parks because it doesn't look good. It's not a good aesthetics for tourism and stuff like that. And so the number of mobile home parks is not growing. And so I think it's a good investment, but also, what your mom's doing. I think there's always going to be a need for that.
And I think it's funny because I've asked my mom before why she's never invested in buying a mobile home park. And she was like, I don't want that headache. I don't want that management overhead headache. She's like, I do better with exactly what I'm doing. So there's something about niching into your expertise as well that I think a lot of people want to skip over the niching part and go big. And I think going big is great if you have the capacity for it, if you've got the mindset for it, if you're ready to build a team to help support that. But for the rest of us who want to live a little bit more of a simple life and be able to do something on repeat, meaning you can duplicate yourself. She has 25 agents that she's taught how to do what she does. That's why the office does as well as it does. And so when I came to you about investing in the 7-figure creator community, I told you real estate was something I was wanting to get into. I grew up in it, but I never have gotten to do the business of it. And so, watching what she's done, it's really inspired me to look at a simple business model and see the value in creating something that helps so many people get into homes. And then also, it's not a glamorous life, a job, but it provides a glamorous lifestyle for my mom, right? She's driving a Benz, house paid off, multiple homes, like she owns an apartment complex. It's done well for her. She also makes hard money loans on the side because some people can't afford the whole, whatever amount of money it is to buy the home. And so I once recently had somebody say to me, and she is a big podcaster, she was going to have me on her show and we were talking about what we were going to discuss. And I told her that this was where I was kind of headed. And she looked me right in the face and she said, if you get into selling mobile homes, I don't even think we can be friends.
Damn.
And I was
crazy.
like, that's because you don't know shit about shit when it comes to investing in real estate. And I personally know you don't know shit about shit because I've seen what you've done with your portfolio. And I only say this publicly on a podcast right now because I think this kind of shit needs to be said, because that one statement took me out for about a month. I didn't post. I stopped podcasting. She said a couple other things too. And I think she said it without ill intention. I think she said it as in, I see you as a leader. I see you as someone who should be on stages and speaking and talking and being this pretty little thing online, not someone who should be selling what she considered not cool, not glamorous mobile homes. But her one thought, her one comment, and that's what happens to so many people when they have a vision or a belief or an idea for a business, they say it to the wrong person and they get told something and it shuts them down and they feel like, yeah, that's stupid. I shouldn't do that. And I remember sitting with that thinking, first of all, whoa. Second of all, I did not go on her podcast. She circled back around a couple weeks ago and she was like, let's schedule you. And I said, you know what? I'm kind of still in a transition phase though. I'm good right now. Thanks. So, and that podcast could really do a lot for me. She's got a big podcast. And I just, at this point, like associating with people who don't like kind of believe where you're at, that's not worth it. Like that's when you got to stay in your own integrity and alignment. And like my body told me no. So I was like, thank you, but no, and that's hard when you get to a point where you're like hoping and praying for opportunities of being invited to be on big podcasts and get a chance to share who you are because it's about connecting with people. What I sell, what I do is irrelevant at this point. It's like, do you like me? Do you vibe with me? Do you think I'm cool? Do you want to come follow me on Instagram? And then it's like, oh, and then what do you sell? What do you do? How can I work with you? That part comes first. When you're human first and then business second, everything shifts. If you're just out here performing for the sales, I mean, that shit's fleeting. If you're selling a $27 course, maybe it'll work for you. But if you're really trying to build connection and network and a community, like you got to be a real human. And she's welcome to her thoughts and how she feels about it. But like, I will not be associating with that brand business any
Yeah.
further.
Where do you think the money is today in like the hair and beauty kind of industry? Both male, like a barbershop, but also like in a woman's focused salon. Like where do you think the money is if someone was to get into that industry today?
Yeah. I want to start with my guys. Shout out to you guys for taking action and opening these sick ass barbershops. Like they're so needed. And I'm so grateful that I have somebody to
Who
send
is it?
people
Who is
to.
it?
Any of these guys who are opening these barbershops, because it's a risk. Opening a small business with a low ticket offer, which is basically what a barbershop with a haircut is, and creating a brand and a vibe, like that takes risk and that takes, a certain type of person who wants to manage people, who wants to be in charge of something like that. But I am so grateful that I have people to send people to get these fades because I did not specialize in that. I specialize in blonding and long hair. So I stayed in my niche. But where I think the real money is for women especially is in the extension business and white labeling their own extension line, white labeling their own products. If they've got the money for R&D, actually creating their own line, education. I went to a class the other day. It was $650 for this class. I sat in a room with 45 women. The girl did one model. We all just sat there. We didn't get to touch hair. We didn't get to do hair. We got a cute little swag bag of stuff. I counted in the room. There was over 40 people. Of course, I had to use my fingers and add it up. I'm like, this bitch just made $25K today from doing one highlight because her personal brand is perfection. She only does beautiful blonde models. She's hot. The model was hot. Everyone in the room was kind of hot. And I was like, we got Jimmy John's sandwiches for lunch and we paid almost $700 to be here. She made $25K in one day and she goes on these tours doing education, showing her techniques, putting herself out there. So education, creating your own line, building that personal brand so that people know, like, and trust you and want to work with you if you have a salon. People want to see who they're working for. They want to aspire to be like you. They want to work in an environment where they know that this business is taken seriously. So I think it's relatable to both men and women. There's plenty of guys out there teaching on stages now, starting their own product lines. It's not hard to start one product. It's not hard to get a second SKU. It's harder when you're trying to get into Costco and you got to come up with the money to like get enough to get into places like that. But for those people starting out, there's big money in this business. Big money.
I always thought there's a big opportunity in the barber space to not have a retail location, but to have a mobile thing where you strictly only cater to higher net worth entrepreneurs, business owners, founders, real estate investors, people that have very, very limited time and would pay for the convenience to have a barber just literally on demand, show up to your office and do a quick cut. Everything's really nice and it's like a legit barber that's really good. I think they could easily sell those cuts for $300 to $500 just for the convenience.
Those people exist. They don't talk about it. I had a client like that for about 7 years. She flew me to the Bay every week. Every week. I had a credit card. I got a driver that picked me up. She found me because I had a friend who was a host out in Vegas and he saw me on social posting. I was there doing a photo shoot for a magazine. And he's like, hey, I see you're in town. Can you stay one more night? I got some people in town. They want hair and makeup. So I stayed that night, got me a room at the MGM. I walked into this party. I was like, oh, this is what happens in the back of these rooms at the MGM. Money, a lot of money. People want things on demand. So then the next time he needed someone out there, he said, hey, I got a group of people coming out. Can you fly out to Vegas again? And I'm like, you really don't have anybody in Vegas you can call? He's like, it's a different group, a little higher and a little bit older crowd. So I said, okay, how much? And so he's like, give me your number. Don't overcharge him. Just like, what's your number for the day? I'm like, this is a typical day what I make in the salon plus travel, all this. He's like, no problem. Got it. Show up there in the penthouse at the Cosmo. We're in the 700 square foot all black bathroom. I'm doing the makeup. These ladies drinking, smoking cigs, just like having a blast. They're all in their 50s. And this is when I'm like, this is what this type of clientele wants. They want you to come to them. So they're trying to get me to eat and drink and do all these things. And I'm like, I was actually in the middle of prep for my competition then. And one of the ladies says to me, oh, you're a trainer too? Opportunity, right? And I'm like, yeah, I am. And she's like, I need a trainer. I need to get back in shape and I want to eat healthy. And you can do glam? She's like, I have a guest house at my house up in the Bay. Like, I'll fly you out every week. And then, I mean, she almost a couple times offered to put Kai in private school up there. My son offered to move me up there. Like, these sort of opportunities at the time, it almost felt like a distraction because my business was so locked in here. Plus, I had a kid. I was working almost 7 days a week between the two, training people, hair, parenting. But I created space for her because she was willing to pay me a premium. And so it was a guaranteed, it was almost like a paycheck. Right. And some working environments weren't always the best, but it introduced me to a handful of other people. I got flown on all kinds of different trips to Cabo, to Europe. Like, I mean, we did a ton of different things. And I actually just got that reciprocated back to me at my wedding. She was supposed to come with a makeup artist that I introduced her to. She at the last minute was unable to come, but she still sent me that makeup artist to do my makeup for my wedding as my gift. So those kind of opportunities happen in the industry a lot. And I think a lot of people who work for private people don't talk about it because people don't want their names mentioned. And you know, those opportunities happen kind of on the back end, but they do happen and they're amazing.
Yeah. But I also wonder like, why doesn't someone like, you know, I don't know if it would be successful or not, but like my barber used to come in here every Friday and he would cut me up. Because it takes for me an hour and a half to drive to the barbershop, wait in line, get the cut, at least an hour and a half. Sometimes it could be 2 hours, start to finish. He would come in every Friday and it would be 20 minutes. I would literally just come over here, 20 minutes, and then he'd be out and I would pay for the convenience. And so I think there's an opportunity there, you know, serve 30 clients a week, high ticket, you can make a lot of money. I mean, as a solo barber, and literally you don't have to pay for the retail spot. You literally just have like a cool truck maybe and a good Instagram presence, market yourself and to like people that have money. You know, what does that come out to? Let's say 30 clients times $500.
Rich is getting me my side hustle business
500
going.
times 30.
Yes. And any of you.
That's $15,000 a week.
Okay.
Times 4. That's $60,000 a month. And in 12 months, you can make a $720,000. And if you don't have employees, you don't have a retail location, you don't have a lot of overhead, I think that's a huge play right there. So
I think it is too.
That's an idea that I thought about. I'm like, damn, someone should go, you know, run that playbook.
I think that, like I said, I think there's plenty of people that are. There's a guy that has a truck down at the beach. He pulls up every once in a while and I see him. It's like a mobile barbershop. So the guys pop in. It's like a little scene. They all have their little, you know, thing going on. But a lot of people I know have their hairdressers come to their house. A lot of people, and especially in that community where she lived, they all have like built-in salons in their house. She ended up, so they bought the house next door to them and because they didn't want a neighbor. And they ended up having a baseball player rent the house from them. And so then once that player found out that they had that house, another player wanted a house and then another player. And then they ended up renting another house to Alanis Morissette. And then I had to go do her, like you just, the connections to who you get to meet when you say yes to certain opportunities like that. I think that's where we talk about that feminine and masculine energy is like letting yourself be in flow and be open to the possibilities and trying things. Maybe that's not for everybody, you know, getting on a plane every single week, being away from my kid for 3 days, that was tough, you know, and eventually I couldn't do it anymore once I got into this relationship. But what it primed me for was getting on Uber, my Southwest Uber every week to go see my husband. And so I look back now and I'm like, oh, she prepped me for all this flying back and forth to, you know, it's just so funny how you can kind of connect the dots when certain things make sense after all, when they don't make sense in the moment.
Jess, I appreciate you coming on the show. We're dropping so much game, so much value. Where can the listeners get in touch with you if they want to learn more about everything that you're doing?
Just go to jessicaburgio.com or you can follow me on Instagram at Jessica Burgio.
There it is. She is Jess Burgio, freshly married for the second time. I'm Rich Summers. Listeners, thanks for tuning in. We'll see you guys on the next one. Peace.